This is part two. Here we go. Part two. There is, and this still happens today, like religious gatekeeping. Okay. I was in churches for decades, and Mr. B,
Mr.
he
B
knows.
is definitely.
Hey, Mr. B, you're talking, you're preaching to the choir here.
He is
I was
angry.
in church systems for decades. You know, especially when we were growing up, you know, we were raised
Yeah.
Presbyterian, so that, you know, it's pretty conservative Christian values. And then as I got older, I went balls to the wall, apparently, and I went into evangelical systems where, like, the mega churches of like thousands of people and full on like worship teams, because I was in search of like trying to pray the gay away, and, you know, they were going to deliver me. And it was interesting because those systems were happy to have my service and commitment to the church and to helping people and to serving in whatever ways that I was, until I was gay, until they couldn't deliver me. They couldn't save my soul. Well, you've got one of two options. You're either you're going to be celibate the rest of your life because you can't turn from your sinful nature, or beat it. So when I tell you, I understand the religious gatekeeping and the things that go on, like, and I was part of systems where like women were told that they could serve, but they couldn't lead. They could speak, but they couldn't preach. Right. And that still goes on in a lot of religious systems. Crazy. That's crazy. Okay.
Not in my mom's.
That's awesome. And I love when there are churches that have female ministers, because they have a healing gift. Why on earth would you think that God can't work through a female as a leader? You know, then there's like the media and corporate culture. I love this. I've been involved in this my entire career in life too. Is like where women's emotions are too much, their ambition is too aggressive, their sensuality is too dangerous. And it's like the patriarchy's modern scripture rewritten through policies, again, paychecks, public narratives. And there's like this conditioning that's been going on for generations where women have been taught to fear their own sacred traits. If you say, oh, I'm intuitive, people call that irrational or witchy. Right? Because like I told you, we've had past lives where we, all three of us, because I've seen it, like all three of us were called witches and burned because we had intuition. Like we had intuitive
Well, I get
gifts.
it. If I was playing X-Men back then, I get it. Like,
You
I'd
were.
burn me too, probably.
But all you were doing was like, you know, oh my God, like that download that I just got in the middle of our thing, I would have been burned. Like they'd have been like, that's a witch. She's gone. She's out of here. We got to get rid of her.
Flashing the lights on and off. Yeah.
And it was always mistaken, or they think you're irrational. They think you're crazy. Sensuality, we just talked about this. And one of the other ones, when we talked about sexual expression, sensuality, it was called sinful. It's like, what? That's part of being a divine feminine. That's a gift. If somebody tries to call your sensuality sinful, yeah, kick rocks. Bye. Your empathy was called weakness. So, you know, Tali, you're an empath. I'm an empath. I'm sure most people have looked at us, man, those bleeding hearts, they're a bunch of idiots. Like, they're always getting kicked around, those weak people. Sure. And you know what the thing is that is absolutely your strength. That is the strength that the world needs. It needs empathy to bring things. Exactly. Because people need to be cared for. You know, that's not weakness, that's strength. I'm going to tell you, and if you're a person that's watching and you're an empath, you can resonate with this. You know how much strength it takes to be an empath? Do you know how many times like you have to be like mauled or like whipped the bird and ghosted in your life, and you call that weak? Because we can get back up and still love people and go show them love and care when they're like tearing us to shit. Like, nah, that's not weakness. That's like absolute strength. Or emotional intelligence. This is the other thing that I love. I think that there aren't a lot of emotionally intelligent people in the world, by the way. And you realize that very quickly, where you're like, why does that person act like a toddler? Like, I don't get it. Like, why can't they hold,
you already know.
like, why can't they hold a vulnerable conversation? Why can't they
Mhm.
express themselves to me in a way that like shows emotional intelligence? You know why? Because that's been devalued in our system and that's called you're just hormonal. Like you're too emotional. Why do you want to feel all these things and talk about all these things? You're just
Yep.
hormonal. They've got a pill for that. I'm sure, right? It's like, they try to erase that.
Mhm.
Emotionally intelligent people, I'm going to tell you right now, they are the badassest people on the face of the planet. Like, there is nothing that I love more than an emotionally intelligent person. And that's how
Mhm.
I roll these days. Like, if you're not emotionally intelligent, I
Close the
will
door.
exchange some pleasantries with you, but you're not in
You're
my
better
inner
than me.
circle. Mm-mm. I mean, I'm
You're better than
kind,
me.
but if you aren't emotionally intelligent, you're not authentic, vulnerable, you can't connect with me like that, you're never getting into my inner circle. You're just not. Like, because I don't see that as hormonal, I see that as, like, absolute strength and, like, you are badass if you can do that, and
You're
I
taking
vibe
care
with
of
that.
yourself. That's
Exactly,
good.
and I vibe with that. That's the way we were meant to be, you know?
We're the
Women,
ultimate
when you suppress all
individual.
these things in women, what's happened is the message is, like, you need to stay small, stay silent, and stay in your place, and that conditioning has been it doesn't just shape women, I will say it also shapes men because they're also taught to suppress their tenderness, their intuition, and their vulnerability. Like the feminine energies, are within them too. And they're like, hey, boys don't cry or like, you suck
Right.
that up. Like you act like a man. Like you don't show any emotion or what do you mean you got intuition? Or what are you, a girl? What? Are you kidding me? And you wonder
Right.
why the world is out of balance because our world right now is built on domination instead of partnership. It's like it's not balanced, And still, we live in a society right now in the United States, unfortunately, and this is a very relevant topic where religious ideologies continue to influence laws that police women's bodies, where churches still
Mhm.
preach that submission is sacred, and where the idea of a woman president still evokes distrust and emotional instability. I couldn't believe like how many times like I heard that like throughout Kamala's campaign. And like that would
My
be a
favorite
reason.
was she's not presidential.
Like
And a
and
34 felon is?
yeah,
Thanks. Fuck off. Yeah,
exactly.
I
But
bet
see,
you're
like
all wishing you voted for that very educated woman, regardless
exa-
of what color she is.
well, that's a
Bet you
whole
wish
other
you
thing,
voted
right?
for her. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's not coincidence. This is all inherited from the systems that have been in place for thousands of years. It's just in a different context. Instead of scrolls, it's laws now. Instead of temples, it's institutions. It's the same stuff, different day. And the
Mhm.
Yeah.
erasure of the divine feminine, from theology has created this template for the erasure of the feminine autonomy in society. So it's told generations for years that male equals authority and female equals obedience. I mean, I even remember growing up with like narratives like that. It was like, someday, Wendy, you're going to marry a man. Okay. No, someday you're going to marry a
No,
man
thank you.
and you're going to submit to his authority. Okay.
Here.
But that was the stuff that was told to us. And I was like, you know
No,
what?
but
Maybe
that's what you're told.
But mine
right.
was
I mean, were you
always,
told that
"You need
too?
to act like a lady. Act like a lady. That's not ladylike.
Mm,
You're
Yep.
not
mm,
being a lady. You need to be quiet. You need to listen to what
Loud.
he's saying." Yep. "You're too loud, you're too
yeah.
expressive, you're too emotional, you're too"
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, "emotion this now."
Yeah, well, see, and the thing is that you can trace all of these laws and all of this back to this limit of women's freedom, back to the same lie that her power must be controlled. These sacred things that are in us as divine feminine women, they have to be controlled. Because if they are not controlled, all hell's going to break loose. It's like, okay, here comes the era of the divine feminine. All right. And this is what they say to me very clearly. So now comes this era. If you aren't ready for it, you don't think it's coming, you don't want to be, but hey, you better step aside. You're being warned. Hey, if you're watching us, we're part of the era of the divine feminine. And so the rise of the divine feminine now, and again, they want me to say this very specifically. It's not about rebellion, it's about correction. And so it's about women remembering that their bodies are sacred altars, not battlegrounds. It's that men need to learn that strength and softness can coexist. It's understanding that we need to move from this domination into balance, from hierarchy to harmony. Like the return of the divine feminine isn't anti man. And I will say this very clearly, it's not anti man, it's anti control. The woman does not need to be controlled any longer. And the thing that I feel like really happy about is younger generations are breaking these gender binaries and they're questioning inherited scripts about power and love and identity. And I love all of that because like all I have to do is listen into my daughter and like her friends, and they think most of this stuff is the craziest shit they've ever heard in their life. And they'll say to me, why do people care? Like who people love and whatever. And I'm like, you know what? That's a great question. And it stems back to all this other stuff. I've told my daughter, I share things with her and I say, yeah, well, it comes from this story. And she's looking at me like I have five heads. She's like, listen, mom, I believe that you connect with God and that she'd rather fully accept that mom has this gift where she can hear God and channel messages, but she thinks the woman in the Garden of Eden being tempted by a snake to eat an apple is the craziest stuff
Is
she's
nuts.
ever heard. And she's like, well, mom, no, I know you can
shit.
hear God. Like, I know that's true, but this is nuts. Like, what is this? And I was
Mhm.
like, well, it's a thing, bud. Okay, so what we're witnessing now is politically, socially, and spiritually is the same energy that I'm gonna call her my girl, like my girl Mary Magdalene once embodied, like this truth that refuses to die. That every time a woman speaks up and owns her sexuality, heals her generational trauma, starts a movement, or refuses to shrink, it's starting to bring back this spirit, this energy of the divine feminine and what these women were doing in history before they silenced them and they lied about them, you know? And so now that's what's happening. There is this spirit, this movement, and this is why we're doing what we're doing because if, you know, I'm telling you, the divine is telling me there's a very specific reason that we're sharing this, you know, today. And it's that they are hoping and they are expecting that women are feeling this churning inside and saying, I don't know what to do. Like, this is resonating with you. Go back to the first podcast where we talk about awakening and we talk about starting to understand and sitting and meditating and starting to remember who you are. You have these gifts already. You have been preloaded. You have everything you need inside of you. And this is a call for awakening. This is like remembering who you are as a feminine. Stop shrinking. Start, you know, changing the narrative. Start speaking up instead of being silent about things. But do it in love. You know, you don't have to go out there because they're showing me like, yes, it looks terrible and it looks like you're never going to make an impact. But if you start to move in love, there's nothing greater than this. That's why they're raising up an army of people who are impassioned, they are healed. They're going to stand for any bullshit. Let me just tell you right now, because these are divine feminines. If you are a divine feminine and you are especially an empress, that means that you embody all the queens, right? So you're the queen of cups, the queen of wands, the queen of swords. All of them are badass. And I'm telling you right now, like these women that are rising, they are the most beautiful human beings to help restore balance in the world, but you aren't going to fuck with them. I'm just telling you right now. And the divine is putting them in positions where they will be heard. They will be heard, they will be seen, and they will heal the world back into a balance, which is amazing. Anyways, that's
Love
a
and
little bit of
light, also with a side of gangster.
A, exactly. He is not calling women who are wallflowers, okay? These are not wallflowers.
Have you?
These are women who have seen and been through some shit, but they still have beautiful hearts and they're healed and they want to help the world. These are the women that are coming. These are the women that are raising up. And listen, if you're one of those women, connect with us. We want you. We want you in our soul tribe. I'm manifesting that all the time. Bring me those women. I want to be part of those women. I want to be with those. I want to roll with them, right? Or I want them to roll with me, however that works. I don't even know what we're going to do together, but we're going to do something. It is a huge mission to heal this world. There's so much healing that has to go on, and there's so much like you need to restore hope. There's a different way. You have so much in you that you haven't even unlocked yet. Wait until crows are flying at your head and you're hearing music that's not playing.
Thank
That's
you.
just the beginning.
My
That's
God.
just the beginning. It's funny that we opened this whole segment about our gifts that are unlocking or that we're realizing that we've had them and we didn't
Mhm.
know what to call them. There's a reason they had us do that because these are just like this is the tip of the iceberg. You have these things in you. You just haven't tapped into them yet. The reason that the feminine movement is so threatening to systems is because it's built on fear and hierarchy. A woman doesn't need permission to exist. She doesn't need a priest to validate her holiness. She knows her power comes from within, like, especially if she's healed. Once a woman is healed and she understands all of this, her power comes from within. It's not from a pulpit, it's not from a policy. She doesn't need a pulpit, a robe, or an altar to rise in her spiritual authority, which is exactly what we're doing. I'm not asking for permission for what I already know is within me. I don't need to go out and get a policy or a robe or a degree in theology. I already know, like, there's just a knowing.
Mhm.
And so this remembrance is what's coming. And so the reclaiming of the divine feminine isn't about erasing the masculine. It's not. We need the masculine. We desperately need the masculine.
Amen.
We need them. I'm the most
And
independent, like I'm the most independent feminine there is, but I recognize the
Are
need for the
you? Are you the
I mean, I'm up there. I've can
she said, I
exist.
mean, I'm up there.
I mean, I compared to you two, I mean, you're a little bit harder, but okay. But what I'm saying is like even in my independence and even in my self autonomy, because I have self autonomy. There is a desire, a need for that divine masculine in my life. There just is. Like, you need those people in your life if you're a divine feminine. Like, I mean, yeah, you can roll like that, but I'm telling you, when that balance is restored, it's a beautiful thing. That unlocks something. It's like new creation. So I'm just saying, we're not trying to erase the masculine. We need them. It's about restoring balance. This needs to be done in love and not destruction. It's like that saying two wrongs don't make a right. Well, it's true. It's like if we've been suppressed and like erased, you're not going to make this better by erasing the masculine and inflicting on them what we've endured. No, there's got to be forgiveness and there's got to be like some restoration. And listen, I believe that the divine will restore that all like 100-fold. But this balance needs to be restored in love and not in destruction. It's about restoring that balance between the energies and not elevating one above the other, but making them on
Mhm.
the same level so they partner together. That's the
Mhm.
beautiful harmony. And also, you remember like when I was getting that channeled message, they're reminding me again, that channeled message about the divine couple. That's what they're showing. They're going to show that through those divine couples that they're going to elevate in the world. And the ones that they put out front in the spotlight are really going to become about that balance. They're going to teach the world a different way to see how that works, how they complement, destroy these distorted narratives about how one rules over the other and only love looks like this and this is how the power dynamic is. It's like, what? No, in a divine counterpart relationship, divine coupling, it's not about a power struggle. That's about freedom. They show up and they are divine people that are fully complete and healed within themselves, and there's a partnership. That's the most freeing thing you could have, and that's what they want to restore to the world. It's like you don't need to dominate one over another energy wise to have that's why everything's out of balance. And so when you erase the feminine from divinity, you erase her compassion from power. That's why all these things are going on in the world and nobody cares. There's no heart
Mhm.
for these folks. People are dying, people are being mistreated because you've removed the compassion. There's decisions that are just being made that are out of dominance and out of, control and like, I don't know, greed and name the whole list. I don't know, because you've removed compassion. Like if you have, the divine feminine also involved in that, then you have somebody that rules from a compassion. Like you rule instead of because the masculine is supposed to rule from logic, and in a different place, like we talked about before. But the divine feminine brings intuition and compassion and nurturing, and is like, okay, maybe we shouldn't go over there and rip that thing up because then look at what happens to all these people, and they start to say, oh. Yeah, you're right. Maybe we could do something a different way. It like works like that. You have a partnership where you talk things out and you're like, yeah, I know this is the quickest way from point A to point B, but we need to consider who we might hurt in the meantime. What if we had a world that was ruled like that? Or it's like, "Oh, we don't we don't want women to have rights to their own body." When you erase the
Yeah.
womb, you erase the sacredness of life itself, and if you have the divine feminine come in and say, but you're not seeing the whole picture. Why do you need to control that sacredness of like where life comes from? You think that you're doing God's work by putting in these restrictions, but you're not.
Why should anybody, any government, any religion, anybody have the control over
You
anybody? Nobody should have control over anybody, period.
Preacher.
I
Do
don't
you
care.
understand? Do you understand how powerful a woman's womb is? I mean, you think about that for a minute. I mean, we take that for granted all the time. Women are having babies all the time, they're bringing life into the world. Think about that for a minute. Think about how sacred that part of a woman's body is. And why there might be so many restrictions, so much shade thrown at that part of a woman's body. It's threatening. That gives them a source of power that like no other human on the earth is having. When you silence, women's voices, you also silence God's whisper through them. So like what you telling women that like, you're crazy, like you have intuition, well that's crazy. Like you're just hearing that or whatever. It's like, no, that's God's whisper through them. Women especially have it. God gave them a gift. I talk to my daughter about that all the time. I was like, I need you to understand what that voice is inside of you. That will get you out of a lot of situations in your life if you listen to it. If you learn how to listen to that, man, I'm going to tell you what, that's going to save you from maybe dangerous situations, maybe going down a path that you shouldn't have. I tell her, you don't have to understand. In the physical, everything can look exactly perfect. But if something's screaming at you in the inside, you just trust that and you say, "Look, I gotta go." You don't have to question it. Like you just, you don't have to explain it. Like you just go. Like, I believe that if women moved like that, things would be a lot different. This divine feminine area, it's remembering. Like we're remembering that creation itself requires both energies. We're rising. And when we rise, we don't rewrite the story, we restore it. We're restoring balance. It's about honoring intuition as much as intellect, emotion as much as logic, and softness as much as
Mhm.
strength. There's a reason you have both. Because if you're just running the whole world on intellect and logic and strength, you end up where we're at now in the world. You've removed the human side of it. You've removed the intuition, the emotion, and the softness that needs to balance out those other pieces. This is where I'll leave it. The return of the divine feminine isn't rebellion, it's remembrance and the healing of the world through balance, restoring balance. And that's why we're here. That's why we're part of this. I'm glad. Listen, I don't, we could be doing a million other things and we dedicate ourselves to doing this every week because maybe somebody that's watching is like, yeah, like I know there's such injustice and I don't know how to help and I don't know what to do. It's like, okay, if you're a female, and again, I'm not dissing our males, but I'm talking specifically to our females because these are the people that need to hear this. If you're a female and you're feeling like, I see all this horribleness in the world and I don't know how I'm going to help, it starts with you. It starts with you starting to remember who you are. And you've got all of this stuff in you that you probably haven't even unlocked yet. Like you're hearing us talk about these crazy stories. We're just like you. We're not anything special. Like we're not special people. It's not like God was like, oh, hey, I'm going to only put some gifts in these people. Actually, that's the way I used to think about it. I used to think people that were spiritual or had all these giftings, I used to be in awe of them. I used to think, wow, they are really called by God. They are special, like whatever. And we are all special. And God's like, but you have this stuff. It's about
Yep.
tapping into it and remembering it, right? It's like we're not anything unique or special.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not chosen. I mean, we're all chosen, but I
We're all
there's like
chosen.
the thing that goes around the internet. The chosen ones.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not
Listen, I
specific
got news for
people.
you. The moment you were
It's the one
created, you
that
were chosen.
right. It's the ones that I see chosen as more like I chose to recognize the path I was on
Correct.
and
Yep.
listen and be able
Yep.
to put down all of the vanity or the ego, whatever,
You're
and
right.
accept what it is.
You're right. We're all chosen. It's just that some of us rise and some of us don't. Some of us
Mhm.
awaken and some of us stay asleep. Some of us recognize that we are in a world that needs healing and that needs help. And some of us recognize like we have a role to play in that and we have a mission. And some of us just turn a blind eye and say, yeah, I don't know. It's not my problem. I got other things that I'm working on. And that's all free will because God's going to let you do what you want to do. Nobody is here controlling you. It's not like God is a puppet master and here's the playbook. Even though you have contracts and things that we sign when we come to earth for those of us that do come back. You even have free will in that. They'll tell you this is what you've signed up for. Your contract is satisfied when you do go through this or that. But even then, you have a choice. You will always have a choice. But I resigned my heart and myself a while ago, actually through this awakening and journey, several journeys. I've just surrendered to it. Whatever I'm supposed to do and whatever I'm here for, I can't imagine like doing anything else than, if I'm called to like help people and they can remember who they are, they can restore their lives, they can have purpose, they can feel and love and move in a way that's different than like this zombie land that we're living in. Like I don't know that there's anything better than that. Like that's pretty awesome. If you can really help people, you can be somebody who lifts them up and has compassion for them. Now, I'm saying that as the super empath. I mean, maybe I'll be doing it on a bigger scale. I'll be opening like 7 different animals from the locks and they're mauling the shit out of me and ghosting me. Whatever. I don't know. I guess hopefully they'll have a quick repair team or something that can help me out. Or God will bring me protectors, which he just said protectors. And I know, G, you're one of those.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know that you're one of those. You're actually one of the people that they show me that like they're calling you a clearer. I don't know what that means. Like a clearer, somebody who clears. Like, okay, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but
Mhm.
maybe somebody that's watching us will know what that means. A clearer. Perfect. So now she's clearing that. Because apparently Tully and I will need that. Like, if you're a healer, you need a protector. Again, that's that balance, right? If you're a healer, there's probably at least one protector, if not multiple, that will be brought into your life because you can only be mauled so much. Maybe if you have a protector that goes with you, and like, oh my God, there's a wounded animal, and they're like, okay, wait a minute, let me make sure this is safe. You can open it, but I'm not going to let them maul you anymore. They can eat some of my shield or sword or whatever that protectors use.
Yeah, lights
So,
out, lights out. They can't see you. Just keep on
yeah.
moving.
Yeah. You freed them, but guess what? You helped them out, but they're not mauling you anymore. I'm not going to let them
Yeah.
maul you. If they ghost you, then I might follow them and say some things. Anyways, that's just funny. Okay. All right.
Mm.
The gutter monkey topic this week, we talked a lot about we've
Mm-mm.
is Karens.
Mm-mm.
No.
I'm
Okay.
trying to
Tell me
hold
about
that
some
shit together.
Karens.
Okay, those are some entitled ass bitches. Well, like
Okay.
that's
Yep.
that. So bad. Who?
First of all, let me
They just
ask,
think
like,
that
have you guys ever encountered Karens? Like you
100%.
personally?
No.
Okay.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
guess G you have just because of the nature of your children and
Oh.
some stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me just tell
Mm-hmm.
you, there is a racial component to Karens most of the time, right? There's
Uh-huh.
some
Yep.
racism that goes on.
They're so I mean, let's really like I would say 95% of the Karens are racist pieces of shit.
I can't.
This
I
is
can't.
where when you ask like what are you manifesting? What I'm manifesting is that those hoes have to come back and be in the shoes of whoever that they're racist against and have to live in that life and have a Karen like they were
Yeah.
just belittle the shit out of them.
They could just
I
switch
don't
shoes.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
when
mean,
that
even with my kids, obviously they're biracial, but I've always that's something I've always stood on is you are not ever. I don't care if we live in a mansion or if we live in an apartment, you are not any better or less than anybody. So if I
that's right.
ever saw my kids even thinking for a moment like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm better than this person or that person,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I had my Karen moment. Oh God. I had one when I was at work, and this
Uh,
is when I was
yeah.
in sales. And
Mhm.
so this is 20 years ago. But we were outside on break and there was this one girl and she at night she would do like waitressing and she was just talking about her night and all of this stuff and she's like, yeah, and then they came in.
Mm,
And in
I love they.
these people, you know about these people. And
These
so
people and
she's
they are
talking to
my favorite
so she's talking to
words.
somebody else and I'm just out there minding my business with my girlfriend and she was saying like, yeah, and then I knew they weren't going to tip. So I was spitting in their food. I was this, that, and the other thing. And I'm
Oh
like,
my god. What the
okay,
hell?
right.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh,
Okay.
we gotta finish this up. Like, I'm trying to gesture to my friend, like, we gotta get out of here. Like, hurry up, we got to go.
So
Yep.
And then this is when the Karen literally decided, like, it's a good time to turn to me of all people. Like, I didn't
Oh,
know this woman. And she's
perfect.
like, right? And when those N words are coming in, and I'm like,
Oh.
oh,
Oh, snap.
oh. I said,
Oh.
ooh, ooh, ooh. And see, this is
Mm.
unhealed me in a,
Mm.
ooh. And I'm at work, but I'm like, you know what? I'm
You're
outside.
gonna you're gonna
So,
mess a bitch up in about a
oh,
minute.
so I look at her and I said, first of all, bitch, before you open your mouth to anybody, assuming, I was like, you have no idea. Ooh,
Mhm.
before you open your mouth and assume just because we're the same color
Oh.
that I am for you or with you with your bullshit, like your entitlement. Oh my God. That's why
Wow.
your broke ass has to be being a waitress
Uh-huh.
at night. Like I can't even the things I said to this woman and literally my girl was like, "Yeah, we better go back in if we're already not
Mm.
fired." But
I
yeah,
love
that's
that. If we're
don't
already
ever
not
come at
fired.
me with that energy like
Mm.
ever. I don't I don't understand anybody's entitlement at all. Like,
So
God bless. I don't know. I don't know
I
what
have
to
a very
say.
similar situation and it doesn't involve race, it involves homosexuality. So, all of my life, mine had always happened in the workplace too. Okay.
Mhm.
Because early on, I was out. So I was like dating, I was dating
Makes my
women or
eyes
whatever,
water.
but what?
I said it
Oh,
makes
your
my
eyes are,
eyes
I
water.
know.
Oh God.
So I was out. I never hid. Once I was out, I was out. I didn't hide my
Yeah.
sexuality. When I was in the workplace, I was the only gay person there for a while, and then I wasn't. And
You mean that
luckily,
you
and
were out about? I'm sure there's
yeah, I didn't hide myself. Okay, but
he's licking, my eyes are watering.
he's licking the table.
oh God, listen,
Go
he
for
can't
it.
stand Karens either. Okay,
Right.
He hates
It
them.
literally just makes me sick.
well, it is.
Sick.
So again, I didn't
Nothing
hide my
suits his
sexuality,
honey.
but it wasn't something that I would discuss with people at work. It wasn't like,
Right.
"Oh, hey, I'm gay," and whatever. It just didn't come up like that. And I didn't present at the time as like a typical lesbian, right? Like I could
Right.
pass for straight by the way that I would dress and carry myself and I wore makeup and whatever. And so I would work with some folks that I think just naturally assumed I was straight. Never asked me, but they just did. And I remember this one woman and she was older and she was a handful in the workplace. She had a terrible disposition in life. But I would always try to be kind to her and like she'd come into my office and sit down and start talking to me like we were besties. Because apparently, like, and again, Tully, I know you have this too, because this is an empath thing. People just come and they just talk to us and they think we're like best friends. And you're like, oh my God, I can barely stand this person, but like I'm kind, so I listen and
Of course.
I try to listen to her stories about her very misogynistic husband.
Oh.
She used to have to go home and like make his lunch like during every day
Oh
and like cuz
no.
he needed
Mm-mm.
his lunch. So
No.
again, I was just like, okay, whatever, that's your
No.
choice.
You're done.
But and then
Beat it.
he would call and yell at her if it was the wrong thing or whatever. Anyways.
Now we're
So
both
but
itching
anyway,
our
so like she
eyes.
would
I
come
know.
in. I remember one day we were in like the conference room and I just finished a meeting and I grabbed my lunch and I was just like finishing whatever I was working on in there. And apparently she used to go into the conference room during lunchtime and she would like turn on the TV and she would watch shows that she liked because she wasn't allowed to watch them at home. So she would watch,
Oh,
I can make it up. HGTV or whatever. And so she started watching HGTV. She's like, "Do you mind?" No, I don't care. I'm just finishing my work and eating my lunch. And there was a commercial that came on about Ellen, right? It was like when Ellen used to have her talk show. And she turns to me and she goes, "Can you believe that they'll just give anybody a talk show now, even those people?" And
No.
I was like, "Women?" And I knew what the hell she meant, but I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna
Oh my
make her feel
God.
really uncomfortable." And she's like,
Good.
and she goes, "Those people, they even give them talk shows now." And I was
Why
like,
is it always
"Oh,
those people?
women?" She literally said those people. And I said, "Women, bond women, like middle-aged women." She's like, "No."
Humans.
She's like, "No, like lesbians or homosexuals." And I was like,
Uh-uh.
"Because they shouldn't have a talk show?" And she's like, "Well, I don't think they're going to reach the right demographic." And I was like,
What?
Okay." She's telling me, you know what I mean. We don't want to watch
Fuck
lesbians like
you.
that
Sorry.
doing talk shows. And I waited and I said to her, like, I love this moment. And I just waited for a minute.
Oh
And
my
I was like,
God.
Okay,
maybe
I
this is a
even.
really good time to let you know. I actually would watch that. And she's like, "Oh, you would?" And I go, "Yeah." You know why? Because I'm a lesbian.
I'm one of
Remember?
those.
Yeah.
Her mouth dropped open and I picked up my stuff and I went back to my
It's like,
office.
have a nice day,
And
Karen.
she didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks, and it was so awkward
Like you
because
did something
for her,
wrong. Like you did something
yeah,
wrong. You
yeah,
offended her.
right. And it was like, because
Right.
she made the assumption that I was straight, and that happened
They're
actually.
always the ones that are offended, though.
Huh.
Like,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
they're
definitely.
they and they're the ones that will bring up your reaction, but never ever like say like,
How it
okay,
got you to that point.
my action
Now,
caused the reaction.
oh,
No, the other person's always at fault and they're always wrong, the wrong ones.
yeah. And the funny thing is when I was first out and I was younger, like it was intimidating because some people were people that were in power in my workplace. Like they were either, bosses or like the C-suite or whatever that I had to work with. And so you had to toe a line. And that was back then. And now, boy, I look for opportunities that people will come at me like this now. Because it's just fun. I'm like, "Okay, you wanna go there? Let's go there. Let's see how uncomfortable you're gonna be." Because you make assumptions, and that's the point. Is like that
Yep.
person did with you, G. It's like you look at me and you think that I could have a husband. I don't. I never have. I don't want one. No, thank you. That is not how I'm made and wired. Good for you that y'all want that, and that's how you're made. But that's not me. Just like you, like they look at you and they think, "Oh, this white chick over here,
Mhm.
I can talk some racist bullshit to her because she's white." No, no, it's
Yeah.
like you don't understand who you're talking to. And that's a hot button for me now. If anybody ever said anything to me, because I have had people say racist things to me as well, thinking like I think the same way that they do because I'm a
Mhm.
white woman. Yeah, no. And then that's usually when I take the opportunity to be like, "Oh, you should take a look at my family. Here's a picture of I'm gonna show you a picture of my family. Look at my niece and nephews." And it's like, and then people just like they don't know what to say. And it's like,
What?
right. So you should shut your mouth because I'm gonna tell
Oh
you
my
what,
god, do you
the world
remember
doesn't need some
when
of that.
Michelle was, god, she was probably no, she wasn't even one, and it was what was it, Jubilee back then? No, before Jubilee, Super Duper. I remember I was walking down the aisle and this old lady came up to me. Swear to God, I can't make this up. And she's like, "Oh my God, this baby's so cute. Obviously the babysitter." And like she went into, should you have this baby in the stroller while can't make it up while like pushing groceries around? I lost track of what she was even saying, but
Yeah.
because I heard babysitter and I was like, "No, I am her mother." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Well, no, you can't be." I was like,
Sick.
"Well, first of all,
How's that?
I am." Well, it's because I was, I'm 16. I'm pushing around a biracial child, so I couldn't be disgust on this woman's face. I was just like,
Yep.
Have a day you
Yeah, I
deserve."
have two I have 2 other stories that happened. One actually involves Michelle. Remember when she was like, I don't know, she was young, like, and she had swooping ice cream or something, remember? And that,
Oh, that wasn't her. That was like when, yeah, she was working in Batavia. That was
okay.
only a couple of years ago.
Right,
She was in her 20s.
and the woman came in with her daughter, and they started talking to Michelle about how did they say this to her? Like, "You look like the woman who cleans my house," or something
No,
like that.
the mother
What?
said, "It's so nice to see that you people work other places. The only time I've seen you is
Yep,
when you're cleaning my house."
correct.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And Michelle,
Yeah.
for anybody who's watching this, Michelle is Puerto Rican. She's part Puerto Rican.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
that was a, dig about
And just
that, and that I mean, it's
gorgeous.
disgusting, and I remember Michelle telling us
People
that, I was
fucking
like, "Oh,
suck.
man." But Michelle is the
Yep.
kindest, sweetest, genuine
Mhm.
soul, and she probably just was like it was awkward, and, she's just so
And
kind.
non-confrontational. She's
Yeah.
so opposite of her mother.
Yeah,
She
a
is
mother would have
beyond
snatched that woman,
non-confrontation.
but not Michelle. I think Michelle takes more after me. She's gentle, and she's that right. She rolls more like me. And then the other one that I'll explain. This is also a homosexual dig. When I was pregnant, and I don't even remember why I was on this side of town, but I was on like the more affluent side of town, where I lived at the time. And I needed to go into the grocery store. I was with my partner at the time, and we were shopping, and then she went one way or whatever. And then there was a woman who approached me in the store. Like, I didn't know this woman, and she was like, "Oh, you're pregnant?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, obviously I was pregnant." Like, I don't know how you could mistake that, but okay. First of all, women that come up to other women and are like, "Oh, you're pregnant," or "I'm gonna touch you," or whatever. I always thought that was so cringy, by the way. If you're that
Yeah.
person, like, maybe you do it out of
100%.
love or whatever. I just think it's cringy. Like, I just would never assume that somebody's pregnant. And it's just like a
No.
weird gray
There's
area,
medical
man.
conditions that can make you look like
Yeah.
that you're pregnant.
I don't know. It was just cringy, but I did happen to be pregnant, and this woman approached me, and she clearly had seen that I was, with a woman, and she was like, "You should be ashamed of yourself." True story. "You should be ashamed of yourself." And I was like, "What? Excuse me?" And she was like, "That child in you deserves to have a mother and a father in their life." And
Fuck you.
I'm
Fuck right
serious.
off, Karen.
I'm telling you,
But
I
but
was
wait,
so okay, yeah.
but wait. Don't you remember? Okay, but remember Thanksgiving, Michelle's 1 month old? Do you
Uh-huh.
remember that? We had a family member show
Mhm.
up with somebody from their church and tell me, as a brand new mother of my child, that I was unworthy, and that my child needed to go to a Christian mother father family, that
Yep.
they literally handed my child to this woman. I have no idea that they
Yep.
brought to Thanksgiving, handed
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
child to
Yes.
that woman, and we're
Yeah,
like,
and
this is
said,
happening.
"Yeah, this
And
should
I
happen."
said, you know what's happening? Y'all gonna eat my ass. I took my child and I fucking left Thanksgiving. Did I not?
Yeah, I remember.
Like,
I remember that was awkward as hell.
you don't
"Hey, welcome
fucking
to
play
our
with me.
welcome to
When I say our
shadow
family
world."
is
Yeah,
like,
listen.
okay, and then it's all like, but then, that goes into the, like, you had a stranger do that. I had our family do
I
that.
know, I
Like,
know,
I
I
get it.
know.
And that
I know.
passion
Isn't it? It's
rose
I
up
well,
in
that's what I'm
me.
saying. Like if people think that like we're not joking about, bullshit and trauma and all this other shit we've had to
Oh, we
transmute
got
and
it.
go through in life, like, hey, we've seen it,
Mhm.
we've got it. So like, but yeah, I mean, this random stranger came and like judged me in the middle of the grocery store. And I was like, why does this happen? Like, what? I'm minding my business. I'm not even somebody who walks around with resting bitch face. And that you think that you can come at me. Most of the time, I look like I have a very kind, happy disposition. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to go over there and fuck with that homosexual that tries to have a baby. Like, what the hell? Just like, what is wrong with people? Telly, you got any Karens that been rolling up into your salon ever and talking to you like that or saying some bullshit?
No.
No. Saying like you're a
Oh,
whore because you have tattoos or whatever.
well, and it's so funny because I think that after as long as I've been doing hair, I've weeded out anybody who would act like that. And if
Good
they
for you.
did act like that in my chair,
Yep.
I would immediately take the cape off, grab underneath
I don't
their
doubt it.
arm,
Yep, I
and
don't doubt
pinch
that in
them.
a minute.
You know that little soft spot behind your arm? Pinch them. Tsa-tsa. Da-da-da.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, I would oops, cut the whole chunk off,
I could
like
ruin your life for 6 months and 2 seconds.
right.
yeah, maybe they keep their mouth shut because they know that you're really in control if they're in that seat because you could really fuck them up big time,
That's
you
Mhm.
know? That's probably why they don't say nothing. I mean, that's probably the
right,
truth,
that
right?
hey,
My
well, I
god.
hope so.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, there are Karens that exist in the world, and, like, this all kind of got brought up because I watched that, and G, you watched this too, Tully, you said you didn't watch it yet.
You set me up for the okey doke. Like you set me up to
Mhm.
watch it. You were like,
I
"Oh, you
said,
gotta
"You need to
watch it
watch
first
this."
of all."
Is it
The
Perfect Neighbor you
Yeah,
said?
The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix. If you all haven't watched that, man, I had so many feels. Like I started bawling. Oh my god, about the
See, you
kids.
wanted to light things on fire.
Well,
So
I
see,
felt
you're
that
like,
way
"Oh, I'm crying
too.
about it." I'm like, "Oh, I'm
But
gonna
this
light
woman, you
somebody
want
on
to talk
fire."
about the stereotypical Karen, that woman was a Karen for sure. And those poor kids, it just broke my heart. I watched this and of course, I'm watching it, it breaks my heart. I'm like, gee, you've got to watch this because I can't
Thank
be the
God.
only one that's suffering through this. So you watched it
Mhm.
Right?
too. But yay, that
Mhm.
woman was all the way a Karen. She's in
Mhm.
prison now, thank God. But,
Good. I
you
hope for a
know,
long time,
like 25 years.
25 years.
I mean,
not long enough.
I won't,
Well,
I don't
no.
know. We won't give
Hopefully
away
she'll
the
kick it in jail.
but I'm gonna tell you something. Like when I was watching this documentary, and I don't know if you felt the same way, G. Like when we're watching it, I thought for a minute like she was gonna get away with it because they didn't even arrest her
At first,
at
You're kidding.
first. They just let her out. Like she
'cause it was
shot
Florida,
and
stand
killed
your ground law.
Florida. She resident of Florida. She
Mhm.
shot a mother of four through her door. And
Through
this
her
Calling
woman.
locked, dead, bolted door.
She had 2
That's
deadbolts
fucking
and a
bullshit.
lock, and she lied on this woman, saying that this woman was threatening to kill her. She was not. The problem was is that this woman clearly was racist. She had all these
Mhm.
issues with
The kids.
the kids that belonged to this woman who were just being kids. They were just being kids in their neighborhood,
Weren't they
you
like
know?
playing football and games
Yeah,
outside or
Mhm.
something? I
yes, they
mean,
were
come
just being
on.
kids, and she was calling the cops on them all the time, and so they had this, like, whole history of this woman, and it was despicable, like, it was absolutely despicable. You could just see it
What
coming.
garbage
You
and
could
beans.
see it coming because they didn't do anything, and then when she did end up shooting and killing this mother through a locked door, deadbolted locked door, she kills her, leaving her 4 children, motherless, and like that, I'm telling you, that was it for me. I have a soft heart. That just broke my heart. I was like, these poor children now have to go through life because this woman was clearly acting from a place of
Hatred.
Yeah.
yeah, hatred and anger. Like she clearly killed this woman out of anger because she
Mhm.
couldn't get them removed or out of her space or whatever the hell she was trying to do from day one. And sickening to think that like that still exists in the world. And people will often will say to me, and maybe they're well intended. I don't know. Maybe you get this too, G, like where people will say, and these are friends that I've known for a while, and they'll just say, I think that like racism or homosexuality, like that's getting better in our country. And I'm like, okay.
What? Are you kidding
Cool.
me?
That's cool
They
that you
literally
think that.
think like, oh, it's not the way it used to be. Like,
It's 100% worse.
I've literally had people say to me, well, like now that you have rights, and I'm like, oh, you mean the ones that are up for debate again in the
Yeah.
Supreme Court?
Right?
Perfect. There's a reason why I
Mhm.
still live in the state that I live because at least I have rights here. I don't know if I'll
Mhm.
have them anywhere else in the country pretty soon, but at least I have them here. And I've had people say to me like, "Oh, well, at least you have rights now. Like you can marry whoever you want or you can have kids." And I was like, "Okay." I would just like to say like and then the next thing that I asked them is like, "Have you ever been to a pride event? Have you ever been to a pride event, a pride parade, a pride gathering or whatever?" And most of the time they'll say no. Like, "No, I've never been." It's like, "Mhm." Yeah, because if you think that there's no hatred is still left, you need to get your ass to one of those things because there is always the haters that are out in full
Yeah,
force
with their
at
signs.
any kind any kind of event that are hate like actively there to hate you. Yeah, actually, like, they are actively there to hate you. I remember when he took my mom to the first Pride parade, and I tried to explain it to her. I'm like, "Mom, okay, listen, it's amazing, and I'm glad that you wanna come with me and whatever, but I need you to understand something. I need you to understand what the world really is like." Because our mom was one of those. She just thought, "You're cool now. Nobody hates you." And I was like, "Okay." So I take her to Pride in our town, like, you always knew like where the collective, groups were gonna be. And so I tried to like get away from there. Well, they moved their spot this one year and they're down with their megaphones and they are like throwing shade and hate. And of course, it's all in the name of God and religion, and
Mhm,
you're gonna burn
mhm.
4 scriptures that they always take out of context. I'm just saying, I mean, I'm used to it. Like, I get it. Like, this has been my life. Like, where people approach you in grocery stores and they throw shade at you in your break room. Like, I'm used to it, right? And my mom, she's not. Like, she's never seen this before. She goes, "I'm gonna go down to the corner and check this out." And I'm like, "Oh God, this is not gonna go well." I'm like, "Mom, listen, you need to like if you go down there, you can't engage with these people. Like you're not gonna change their mind, whatever." She's like, "No, I'm just gonna go down and see." The next thing I know, I see mom like yelling at somebody, at somebody in the face. The police are around or whatever. I was like, "Okay, mom, you got to get back here because you're going to get arrested."
I wish she took one of their signs and broke it over their head.
She didn't, but, like, she came back and she was so fired up. She was like, "They're saying that you're," what did she say? "They're saying that you're mentally ill," and all this other stuff. I go, "Yeah, they do." And she goes, "I was telling them, like, you don't know my daughter. She's not mentally ill. There's nothing wrong with her." And then she was like, "And they're saying that you can't know God and be a homo," and what I was like, "Mom, listen, I've heard it all." Like, listen, but it was so funny for her to experience it firsthand and be like, she had no clue. She just thought the world was like accepting and rainbows and love. And, it's like, no, no, there are people that will come to actively hate you, period. Period. And
Mhm.
so it was sad to watch her go through that, but it also kind of vindicating because she was like fired up about it? And the same thing, like I know she's faced the same thing about people talking about racist stuff to her too, and like not knowing who her grandkids are. They're like, "Oh, they think that this white woman, she's probably got white grandkids." And meanwhile, she's got a biracial family. And like we said before, our parents who sat us down were like, "Hey, you can't date outside your race and you can't date women." They have gone through their own battles through all of this now because they had to. They had to choose their kids, their family. And now they're just as disgusted about this stuff as we are, but they needed to see it. They needed to experience there's hate, unfortunately.
Mhm. And now we added spirituality to it.
So now we're
Wow.
really gonna kick it up a notch. So
Now we're
perfect.
really mentally unstable. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I mean, if
yeah.
they call me mentally unstable now, like maybe they'd have some basis for it. It's like, wait, you get downloads from God? Like, oh yeah, I
And you're
totally do. What's wrong with
questioning
that?
all of the religions and
Right.
what?
You're saying like like Eve didn't come from Adam's rib, or like,
Mhm.
what's wrong with you, Wendy? Why can't you just conform and shut your mouth?
It's because 'cause you're
Right?
gay.
It's
It's
my
'cause you're a
gayness.
lesbian.
Hit them with Adam and or what is it? What?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh God, he made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve." Oh my God, there's so much wrong. That's a whole other topic. If you watch part 1 and now part 2, thanks for hanging with us. Hopefully, I mean, I'm just hoping we do this every week and we do it from honestly, our honest, authentic selves. Like, this is not put on, this is not performative for us. This is not a show. Who you see is really
No.
who we are. And we're just here saying the things that we're being called to say and the things that we're seeing and the things that are actually happening with us, hoping that if you are watching us or you are engaging with us or you're becoming part of this collective that's following us, that these are resonating with you too. That, we need everybody to start to remember who they are, start to embrace their power, start to heal, start to be like you deserve a better existence in this life. It's not about all this systematic control and, the Karens. And maybe we're just a bright spot in your week where you can laugh and be like, yeah, that shit's happened to me too. Hey, if you've got Karens throwing shade at you, hey, You're not alone. Even though we look like 3 white women, we actually represent a lot of diversities, and people
Yeah.
may not understand that, but we really do. So we represent a lot of groups between the 3 of us.
But
As always, we love to have your feedback, your comments, your insights about any of the things that we're talking about. It helps us to that our messages. So this is where we'll sign off. I'm sending you lots of love and light. Until next time. Peace.
So yeah.
peace out.